Hello viewers, here is an AT&T 900 megahertz cordless telephone, model 9340. This is a telephone that we had many years ago. It must have been either the very late 90s or the early 2000s, and we had it at one house and it seemed to work okay, and then we relocated, and then sometime after that it just became a terrible phone, and it was so full of static. It used to dwell on a table next to the couch, and you could sit on the couch 2 feet from the telephone and it would be so full of static it was just unusable. And so I guess it got tossed at some point. I haven't seen it since then. So I came across another one here, and now I have it in my collection. Fortunately, this one seems to work better, although for how long I have no idea. Unfortunately, these earlier AT&T phones don't seem to have the best reputation for longevity. Interestingly enough, the screen still works on this one. That seems to be a pretty common failure point, at least among the 2.4 phones. Maybe this one is a little bit earlier and wasn't so much plagued with the screen failure. You can tell it's just not made right. It's a very cheap feel to it. Super creaky. You hit one button or you move it around and you can see the other ones move too. There's a lot of spaces in the housing and seal on the side here. There's a space there. The battery cover is closed as much as it goes. You can see it's flush down there, but there's still a big gap there. Spaces on this side. All space around here. It's not constructed very well. Very lightweight. Very flimsy feeling. The phone button is whoops. Oh, now you can see what it'll do if it'll error out. The phone button is kind of set down in there compared to the other buttons, which is an interesting design so you don't hit it accidentally while you're talking, but also makes it kind of difficult to press. You got the headset jack here. Outrageous battery connection, very difficult to connect. And this of course is the wrong physical size battery. It should be a 3AA cell, but I don't have any of those in the battery bag at the moment. Somewhat flexible antenna, which somehow hasn't broken. Base antenna, however, has broken, and I'm fairly certain that's all that's in the base antenna. This is like I didn't put this in there, this is how it came to me. Some kind of a tube, plastic tube, and then they stuck the tube in the other end, and that's, I guess, how they held it together. Kind of clever repair, but I don't understand why this is so long and the antenna only goes up to here. Doesn't make any sense. It's natively wall mountable. Any information's on here. There we go. It's instructions to change pulse dialing. It's got a new call indicator, which is kind of neat. Charging. I have to say the interfaces on this phone are pretty cool, and it's a shame that this wasn't a better phone, because if it was, I'd probably use it. The base is always in wall mount position, which is very annoying because if it's sitting on the table flat and you go to pick it up this way, it doesn't quite come. Although in this case the charging contacts also kind of sit into the phone like that, so you really have to push it up and then out, which is just not intuitive if it's sitting flat on the table. So let's go ahead and plug this in and we'll see how it works. Okay, looks like we have a new call. I'd prefer that light to flash rather than be on steady, because a flashing light is a lot more attention grabbing than a steady light, especially when there's another steady light right below it. Both of those lights are working. Seems to flicker when you take it off the base. Ever so slightly. The display stays off while in standby, both on and off the cradle. And the caller ID is stored in the base. Those are the only three options: caller ID, directory, setup. And these two buttons correspond to what's on the screen there. Doesn't let you go forward and back. You have to go through each one of these individually. So bring a rough indicator up there. Oops, I wanted to ring around. That's a very shrill ringer. We'll stay with 3. Call ID, call waiting. I don't know what this is. It's got a little phone indicator, which is kind of cool. I always thought that was neat. It kind of goes off the hook when it's on. You just don't see little stuff like that on the phones today. It's got a lot of calls in here. It's got 99 calls. And it takes some time to scroll through the list because it's transmitting the data from the base to the handset. Apparently it screws up every now and again. That screws up several times. I wonder if that's a function of the phone just not working very well, or if that's an error coming in from the phone line. Even the time is screwed up. Alright, let's begin by, well, we've already begun, I guess. Let's call it and see what happens when we call it. That's a stupid thing to say. Okay, calling it now. Caller ID came up pretty fast. Does not have auto talk. any key answer. And it takes some time to answer it. Once it's ringing, it takes time for it to connect, which is kind of annoying. I don't know why it keeps showing that number up there. It's got mute. Oh, it's actually on pulse. That relay is pretty loud. I always like the loud relay on there. Alright, let's go to the outside line. We'll make a call. Turn this amplifier on. Seems kind of quiet. Let's see if we increase that a bit. There we go. All the buttons seem to work okay.
Hello, Farmer Jones here in the pumpkin vineyards and beautiful Christmas tree fields with the update for Friday too, I guess, because it looks like this late week.
Sounds like there's a static in the background. Yeah, there is in the background.
We are open daily through the October 31st weekends, 9 to 6 weekdays, 10 to 6.
There's no indication on the screen of the volume change. It only makes that one sound when it's at the highest setting. Goes pretty loud. Can't tell if there's a background sound or not. Yeah, there kind of is.
In order to complete this
Oh, jeez. I don't know what that sound is. Well, as I said before, this is not the greatest quality phone. But it does work on the incoming side, so let's go back to the inside line and we'll call and record a testing message.
1. New message and 10. Old messages. Message 1.
That sound, whatever it may be, is very distracting. Could never talk on this phone with that like that. It would drive me crazy. I'm leaving the studio now. I walked across the room to see if the range is any good. It's probably not. I wonder if that static is on the outgoing end too. Now I'm hearing some normal static. Quite a bit, actually. Okay, I'm going to change the channel. Just went through 3 different channels and I still hear that sound. I wonder if that's some kind of an AC adapter thing. I don't remember it having that the first time I tested it, but maybe it did and I just didn't notice. Anyways, that will conclude this test. Over and out.
End of messages.
That sounded alright. I didn't hear that constant static that I hear on the incoming side in the message, so it must be on the incoming only. The pickup was pretty good and the side tone had a nice amount of side tone too. Really is a shame this wasn't a better quality phone. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one, the AT&T 9340 900 megahertz analog cordless telephone.